Okay, James, we are live and we are going to be covering how a master applies principles. Okay, good. Do you know Alexander Lekan, James? Hey, Dinafri, you woke up?
I think so, Coach.
Oh, okay. It's important when you're learning that you find out about these guys because it makes it easy to remember certain ideas or when you know a little bit about them. Like if you know, for instance, that Alekhine was an attacker, then whenever you're looking for attacking concepts or attacking games, you look at his games. If you know Capablanca was good in the end game, when you're looking for end game ideas, you look at his games. It helps a lot in your studies. All right. So, what do you know about Alekai?
I um I um I think he's a former world chess champion,
Very good.
or he's on the top rank of players.
Uh-huh. Sorry for that. That was just a Lino. Thank you, Lino, for liking this stream. Yeah. So Alekhine was like the fourth world champion after Steinitz, Lasker, Capablanca, and then him. So one thing that was quite different about him was he played his chess with a lot more energy than the average players at the time, and his ability to see combinations was amazing and beautiful combinations at that. But what people don't really speak a lot about him was his ability to build positions where combinations were present. And I think that is an amazing feat. As you know, you can do as many puzzles as you want, but if you don't know how to build those positions where you can do the puzzles, it's pointless. Welcome, Terry. Okay, so the game we're going to look at was played in 1930. Alekhine was still young at the time. He had not even started thinking of playing for the World Championship. And the game starts with d4. And
Coach, I'm not on the
oh yes,
screen.
aha! Thank you for letting me know. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Okay, so d4 gets played. Look into your Zoom. Can you see it?
Yes, Coach.
Okay, good. So d4, black goes d5, and now white plays knight f3. Black goes knight c6. White goes c4. And black makes a mistake, which is not fitting into this position. He plays the move e6. Now, the first thing you need to break down is why is this move a mistake?
Because it gives it makes an open file on the file that your king is on.
Not really. There's another
It
idea.
makes a good target.
No, there's another idea. Because here, you can't actually exploit the open file anyway. So why would this move be bad, this e6 idea? Because before, hey Floches, when we are playing, yes, I can accept challenges, but right now we are doing the lesson. Yeah, what is wrong with this idea e6? What does e6 block?
If white plays c5, black can't develop his black bishop on a good square, and his white bishop is blocked.
That's much more important. The point in this position is that this bishop over here on c8 is blocked in by its own pawn, and this was not necessary. Black could have even played something like bishop g4 first before playing e6, and this would have been fine. But playing e6 blocks in the bishop, and that's what's wrong with it. So now, a stronger player would start already thinking about how to exploit that. And Alekhine knows that it's a mistake, but he doesn't, there's no need to jump and do anything unusual. You have to keep doing the same ordinary stuff. So he goes knight c3, developing a knight. And now, black makes a second violation. He takes on c4. And this again is a mistake. Why is that?
White can put his bishop on a good square. Now, because of bishop times c.
Very good. That's true. Partly correct. But if you think about it, he played e6, this move, to protect this pawn. Suddenly, he gives up this square and takes, allowing white now to take control of the center. This is not consistent as a plan. So when each move is shifting what he's doing, and this is a problem. Again, there's no need to hurry or overextend. Alekhine plays e3. He is ready to recover the pawn on c4. Black goes knight f6. What do you do here?
You just take the c pawn.
Very good. A developing
with
move.
the bishop.
A developing move, recovering your pawn. Now, there is something in this position which most beginners would not think about, and that's the fact that white has got these two central pawns versus this one pawn over here. This gives white a lot of central control in the position, besides the lead in development. So black goes bishop b4, developing a minor piece. What should you do here?
You could castle.
Very good. Castle short. There are three basic important concepts that you're always trying to push in the opening. Develop your minor pieces, castle, connect your rooks. Develop your minor pieces, castle, connect your rooks. And those three, if you keep doing that, especially at the beginning of the opening, the likelihood of you getting mated in the opening is unlikely. Now, black makes a third mistake. He takes on c3. Why is this a mistake?
You're trading the two bishops for a knight.
True, you give white a bishop pair for free, but
Yes.
what is the basic guideline? What makes you realize like, oh, I should not do that? I should not do this. What's the principle?
You
How?
give white a strong center.
True, but what there is a principle about capturing, which makes you realize like, oh, what I'm about to do here is wrong. If anyone in the chat knows what it is, shout. Because James is calling a friend at this point.
Don't exchange when you don't have the advantage.
Yeah, there's no reason for you to exactly to take is a mistake. To take just is not always. If you're not going to benefit from a capture, don't bother, right? To take is the mistake. You waste a move and you don't benefit out of it. If your opponent wants to capture, let him do the capture. So what do you do after bishop takes knight?
You take the bishop with your b pawn.
Very good. B takes c3. So far, you haven't had to make a really difficult decision. They're pretty obvious. Black castles. Right? Now it starts getting a bit difficult because you've got a few choices. But what do you do here? Bishop d2 would be like pointless. Your bishop is not really making a difference in your position. In fact, with that bishop, I would really kind of delay it a little bit because you're not sure whether you want it to go through a3 or whether you want it to go to the king side. So I wouldn't hurry to make that bishop move decision. Well done, Luto. Well, e4 would be a blunder. Queen c2. Well done, Kian. So, James, did you see this idea? Queen c2. Why do you think you play Queen c2 here?
To connect the two rooks.
Partly yes, but there is a much more direct reason why you're playing Queen c2.
Attacking the h pawn.
Partly, there's a much more obvious one.
Hoping to play e4.
Very good. This is very important that you are able to push this pawn to e4, and Queen c2 goes a long way in doing that. Now, white makes his fourth slight mistake. Knight to e7. Why is this a mistake before punishing it?
He's moving his piece back.
Exactly. He's moving his piece backwards. What do you do? So the principle would be don't move backwards.
Is it knight e5?
Well, when you play knight e5, you're starting to attack, right? But what principle are you violating when you do that? Well done, enough. So, when you play knight e5, what principle are you violating? Because it's always about principles, right? You're starting to attack before completing
development.
So, Dinaf's idea, bishop a3, is correct. You connect the rooks. Remember what I said in the opening, develop your minor pieces, castle, and connect your rooks. Right?
Yes, coach.
Okay, so black needs to play something here. And he plays pawn to c6. It's a bit of a weird move. Ideally, you want to play something like c5 in this position. But he can't. Now, what do you do? How do you improve your position? If you don't know principles, these kind of positions are difficult to play, but once you know, it becomes very easy. They're a bit different from your e4, e5 positions where things are like fighting directly with each other. Here you need to plan a little bit.
Maybe bishop d3.
Bishop d3. Okay, but you're moving backwards, right? And you don't want that. Unless you don't have a choice. Unless you really don't have a choice. Or it really makes a big difference. Should you consider moves that are like that?
Knight e5.
Okay. It's a nice move. It improves the knight. But really, how else do you improve it from there? It's not so easy.
Rook b1.
All right. But not the best. There's something better. So here, again, it's about the reason why you played your queen to c2, right?
e4.
Very good. Now, this is one mistake that a lot of people make. They start on a plan, they don't carry it out, and they start on another plan. And they don't finish that. Then they start on another plan. Now, one thing you notice with strong players is once they hit on a plan, they stick to it until it cannot be implemented. At which point, there will be another available plan that they can carry through. Or their plan simply succeeds. So e4, okay, so he plays h6. Now, this is a fifth violation, very simple. Here, when you make pawn advances in front of a castled king, they make it so easy for your opponent to attack you, right? Now, Alekhine follows with rook to d1. So he's making sure that all his pieces can jump in once he starts a fight. Black goes bishop g7, and now Alekhine goes knight to e5. He's improving every piece that he can. Black goes rook e1. Now, it's your turn. What do you do? How do you press more here?
Bishop c1, bringing the bishop into the game.
But that's a backward move. That's something you have to really fight. But here there's an old player who's had a lot of experience who suggested a move, and the move is f4. Thanks, Terry. That's a very good move. f4. You're looking at the king side. How many defenders does he have? Who can tell me how many defenders does Black have on the king side? It's not 3? You're not just guessing the numbers.
4?
No, Junafri is just stating numbers. Well done, Kian. Black has got 2 defenders. The rook does not count as a defender, and the queen will never count as a defender. The defenders are the minor pieces. So Black has got 2 defenders on the king side. Dash's idea of playing rook d3 is not the most accurate, because it leaves e4 hanging. Terry, so defenders, when you are counting defenders on the king side, you divide the board in half. You look at the king side and you look at the queen side. You look at how many pieces are on the king side that are minor pieces. The bishop is on the queen side. It doesn't count as a defender on the king side. Okay, so f4 is the idea. Black goes queen to c7. What do you do? James, this is yours. It's attack time. What do you do here? d5 is interesting, but it's not the right idea. Someone suggested d5, James. That's why I said so. Well done, Dinaf says f5, James.
I was thinking about that,
Yes.
but I wasn't sure.
Okay, what were
I
you?
was still calculating the position.
Oh, I see.
That.
Of course, this and the knight are what makes this square weak. So you can play this move. But what you're busy doing is, there is a principle that if you have three clear attackers, that's three attackers with no defender, you should be able to checkmate a king. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Right? Very important. Now, if you have three clear attackers and there's no defender, that's fine. But the moment you have one defender, you have to increase your attackers. So by playing f5, at some point you are planning to take on e6, introducing the rook on f1 as an attacker. Okay, let's define an attacker. An attacker is any piece which can get to the king in how many moves?
Two moves.
In 2 moves. So now, at present, you have the bishop, which can get to the king in 2 moves by taking on e6 and on f7. You've got the knight, which can get to the king in 2 moves. And you've got the bishop, which can get to the king in 2 moves. Right? So right now you've got 3 attackers, but you've got 2 defenders. Right? The knight on e7 and the knight on f6. What this means is that your attack is not going to attack. It's not going to succeed because there's enough defenders. However, if you start opening lines, you could introduce this as an attacker, which would mean that you would have 4 attackers to 2 defenders, and you would only need to add 1 more attacker and your attack would succeed. Are you with me?
Yes, coach.
Okay, so after f5, your opponent, or Alekhine's opponent, played rook a d8, and Alekhine, being Alekhine, took on f7. Now, you could leave this piece on its own there, but that's just accepting that the game is lost. So Black really doesn't have the choice. He goes king takes. Now what do you do?
F times E.
Well, we are thinking about it in a hurry. That pawn is not going anywhere.
Queen B3.
Think about it more. Queen B3 is slow. The Nafrio is on fire today, James. He's like your wingman right now. He sees it again. E5. Right? Now, you do see that if the knight moves away, now you can take on e6 with check, right? Or Dante. Right? If the knight moves away from the king side, you've just lost a defender. And the position is now winning. But Black saw that. He played okay, sorry. I'm just going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go to f5 here. Okay, and play this move. And knight takes pawn. King takes, e5, and at this point, after e5, he played this knight on e7 to g8. What do you do here?
E times knight.
Okay, you're in a hurry to recover material, and this is good, but when you're attacking, it's the least of your worries. You're after a bigger fish than the Matemba that you see here. I wonder what that fish is called. Matemba is like a small fish. I don't know if you know that, James.
No.
You want a bigger fish here. Attacking is usually about harassing your opponent as much as you can, being as annoying as you can.
F times E.
That helps you, but not really. There's a better move, which involves chasing the queen away from a good square.
Bishop D6.
Very good. You're attacking, you might as well. So he moves away from a prominent square. Okay, Alekhine improves his queen. The knight doesn't really have squares to go anyway. And he's coming for the king. Black goes b5. White goes bishop b3. And he goes a5. There's nothing better to do in this position. He might as well start chasing your bishops. Alekhine finds time to improve the rook. He goes a4. I'm going to open this move to everyone because it's not an easy move to find. So, what should white play here? What Alekhine played was extraordinary. Yes, James?
Is it maybe bishop D1?
Ooh, no. But it's an interesting idea and I see where you're going with it. There's something better.
Queen H5?
Well done. For someone who loves material, some of the moves that you spot really surprised me. Queen check. And of course, what makes this extraordinary is that this queen can be taken off the board. Now the queen being the most valuable piece on the board, whenever you give it up for free, you know what it's like, James, like having your lady just saying, oh, you can go. Queen h5 check. This is the worst nightmare that can happen to any player if you didn't plan it. But in this particular case, it's well calculated. After knight takes, what does white do?
F times E.
Yes, this is a double check. So what's unique about a double check is always whenever it's a double check, the king must
move away.
Exactly.
You can't block.
You can't block a double check, you always have to move. Now, as you can see, there's only one square the king can go, and this is what makes calculating the combination a bit easier. How do you follow up?
Bishop c2.
Bishop to c2 check. Now I want you to observe the idea that I mentioned earlier. How many attackers does white have that can get to the king in 2 moves?
Three.
He's got 4. The bishop included, the one on d6. But what makes this position even much easier is that the king has been taken out of its own shelter. So there's no need to sacrifice something to get it out. So after bishop check, he goes here. What do you do next?
Rook f5.
Very good. Check. King goes to g6. What do you do?
Rook to f6.
Very good. Rook f6 check.
Check.
Again, this is only possible because it's a double check.
Double check.
King goes here. It's the only move. What do you do?
Rook g6.
Very good. Rook g6 check. Again, this is very forcing. The king can only go to h4. What do you do?
You play rook e4.
Rook check. He's got only one move. What do you do?
Rook times knight.
Rook takes knight check. King goes here. What do you do? This move will make your opponent resign. This move will make your opponent resign.
g4.
There's a better move.
g3.
Very good. He goes g3. Hey, Mohammed, welcome. And his opponent resigns. Well done, Kian. Well done, Terry. Why is this a good move?
Because of rook h4.
Because of rook h4. And his opponent resigned. What do you observe about the way Alekhine played?
He played, he put his pieces on the correct places and then he went full on attack.
Exactly. Once he completed what he was supposed to be doing in the opening, it was easy for him to shift into attack because all his pieces were in the right places. And that's the game for today. Thank you for joining. I will see you tomorrow with another lesson. I've got some really cool stuff set up for you, James. You're going to be checkmating people even if you're not playing. That's how good you'll be. Okay, good guys. We're going to raid Dynamitsa. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Coach.
Just stay there, James. With our 5 viewers, let's go.